What's up, guys? It's Sierra, and I'm here to tell y'all about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. 1, it's free. 2, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your own podcast right from your own phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is ANCHOR.FM to get started. What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday or whatever day you guys are listening this to. I hope you guys are having a awesome day. It is going to get even awesomer because this episode will be lit because I have my godmother on here with me. We are talking about the common issues within the LatinX community. You guys do not want to miss this episode because this episode was amazing. So many funny moments, so many moments we were addressing the hard topics that nobody wants to talk about. So without further ado, let's get started. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just kidding. It's gonna go. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, guys, I actually was kidding because I want to give y'all a little warning because the first 5 seconds are going to be like, what the heck, Sierra, were you doing in the Lex? What are we listening to? Yeah, just trying to figure out some things and it finally worked out. Guys, bear with us. We were having a bomb time. So yeah, also viewer discretion is advised because we will be talking about some controversial topics. So if you guys don't want to hear controversial topics, this is your time to click off right now. So yeah, now we're going to start. Okay, there we go.
Hi.
Are we live?
Woo! Yes. I'm just...
Oh!
Why do my voice things look so little compared to your... Oh, there it goes.
I have no idea.
I was about to feel really insecure for a minute. What is happening here? I have BDE, so I don't understand.
What's that?
Big dick energy.
Oh!
That's my toxic dog in the back. Happening right now.
Brought to you by Pedigree.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Pet smart, one dog.
So my name is Nikisha and that's my dog Teddy. And I am your godmother. And it's kind of weird to be sitting here with you and you're a grown ass woman and you're about to graduate college because I remember holding you and we're drinking together.
Some good margarita.
Wine. Right? Because I remember when you were first born, but I won't embarrass you. You're looking at me like, shut up. All right. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm saying this is a great moment.
I love this.
Yes, this is good. This is fantastic.
So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah.
Facebook topic.
You are, you are a Puerto Rican woman.
I am.
And you are, what you said again?
I identify as Afro-Taino.
Mm-hmm. So what does that mean to people who don't know what that means?
Okay, so first let me say that that identification is something that came by recently as sort of in my spiritual walk. But previously, I identified as Afro-Latino. And I don't see anything wrong with that classification. I just think, for the journey that I'm on, Afro-Taino is more appropriate. And basically that it's really giving a nod to our indigenous roots and our African roots and sort of letting the the colonization of our people by Christopher Columbus taking a backseat in the title. That's really all it is. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So I should start identifying myself as, what's the word again?
Afro-Taino.
Afro-Taino.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah, because Taino Indians are who were on the Puerto Rican island of Boricuan, actually, first, before Christopher Columbus and his homies came and colonized shit.
The mafia.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
What did I say earlier? What did I call him earlier? I said Christopher Columbus was...
An asshole?
No.
Sorry. Okay.
Well, yeah.
He was that too, though.
I said he was the... Oh, I know. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. Anyway.
Oh, you did.
Something like that.
Yeah. He was the ultimate.
Yeah.
I remember. Is that too offensive to say?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. We won't say it.
So, the topic was racism, discrimination to the Latin community and stereotypes that still exist in the USA. So I thought that was an amazing topic. Because
child.
And what other person to do it with than my lovely
godmother.
Godmother.
Because I'm always going off about some racist shit.
Yes. And I'm always going off about some racist shit, too.
So this is a good topic for us to talk about.
We and her go on Facebook and just angry at shit, laughing at shit, speaking our mind.
Yeah.
Like, who the F are these white or anybody racist?
But mostly them. Let's keep it a buck.
Yes.
Mostly them. Yeah. So, yeah. So where do you want to start with that topic? Because there's a whole lot to say about it.
I got a Word document, guys.
Okay.
Of list of things.
She's so organized.
I thank you so much.
I love that about you.
Thank you. So the first... Oh, let me talk. Did I talk the time? Okay, I'm going to start the timer.
We've been at it for like, what, 10 minutes now?
I'm pretty sure it's equal to 3 minutes.
Okay.
Stop pausing.
Okay.
So first we're going to start with racism, which is AKA... We can talk about colorism, texturism, lack of representation of the whole Latino community on television. So, yeah.
So, do we want to talk about racism, like, within specifically the Latino community?
Yes.
Because I feel like that is a whole nother ball game from, like, what's happening on the American stage.
So, let's talk about where it kind of starts from within our own community. So, I feel like, okay, so... back to 1990. So, you know, the, what's the word? Latinos, Latin America. Okay, so let's say the Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, you know, you don't look like, you know, the Spanish people in European standards. And I feel like many of us and our ancestors, I would say like maybe grandmas or great-grandmas, we're obsessed with the European side and want to identify with that. Some may even make fun of their other family members because they have dark skin. Their hair is not straight. It's curly. Instead of being, you know, European standards of beauty. Yep. And then, there's...
that's because of the racial caste system. Have you ever heard of the racial caste system?
Yeah, I believe I
So that's something that, I mean, that happened like Christopher Columbus type era. So that was really how they classified basically what kind of rights and respect that they gave you. And for some reason, that stuck in the Latin community in a way.
Spanish.
Right. But like that, it's stuck in a way that like we haven't really been able to get rid of it. So like there's even this notion that if you have brown or darker skin, you should always marry lighter. So your kids can get lighter with every generation. Their hair can get straighter with every generation. They're trying to kill out the African traits, which, I mean, it's a shame because I think a lot of these people wouldn't identify as racist. If you ask them, they'd be like, I'm not racist. You know what I mean? But they've internalized that racist mindset.
It's because they don't want to be seen as demonized or like evil or it's like, it's almost like the white privilege box where white people might not want to acknowledge their privilege. They instead cry like, oh, like I'm not racist. I didn't even say any of those things. Why are you pointing the finger at me? Why do I have to explain myself? Why don't you tell me what to do, Sharon Osbourne? Why don't you tell me what I did wrong then, huh?
Yeah,
you shouldn't be crying. I'm crying.
White tears, weaponizing white tears, which can absolutely happen within the Latino community. I see a lot of that, actually. And like you were saying with the like European standard beauty standard, like every time you see a Latina on TV, she looks like Sophia Viagra, or Jennifer Lopez. No diss to them; they're beautiful women. No,
because you said Viagra.
Yeah, I did. Well, because okay, so I did. You didn't catch? I said that's how I said her name earlier today when we saw her on TV. Oh. I was hoping you'd catch that.
No, but there's this woman. There's this telenovela. I think I've seen a couple of with her in it. One I remember when I was growing up was named Teresa, and I looked her up. Right? The actress. She is actually not okay. I think she's half Mexican, but she has mostly Irish descent, and she's a natural blonde. So what they do with these telenovelas or Latin shows is what they get European people, and then they give them whatever to make it look realistic. Not even realistic. They'll just pick anybody to play a Latina late woman or Latino man, and then they say learn Spanish, and then make it realistic. But in real life, that's not the Latino community. It's more dark skin.
Yeah, we're more diverse.
Brown skin, even light skin, but.
Well, you know what? I think a lot more people, if you were really to break it down, like for what it is, sort of speaking to what I was saying earlier about identifying as Afro-Taino, it's not even so much that they're white, they're indigenous. You're either indigenous or you have African roots, ancestry, and that's not to dismiss the European. Because clearly you can look at some of us and you can see that there's a lot more European lineage there than there are for others. You can't dismiss
those other.
Right, like us, like you won't look at us and assume that we're like predominantly European ancestry. But the interesting thing is though, you can look at a family of Latinos and a brother and sister can look very different because they pick up totally different traits from either side of the family. Yeah,
even in my own family, I'm not going to speak name, but I have cousins. One cousin who is, I think one had blue eyes or something. You know, that even in Latino families, you see someone who has straight hair and blue eyes, blonde.
It's a mixed bag.
To someone who has dark skin, curly hair.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful to look at the difference, like in diversity.
It is.
Puerto Ricans are a diversity of people. It's not just one color, or one hair texture, or one.
We're not a monolith,
right?
Like there's definitely a lot of different layers and nuance.
Some people might see a black person, they're like, "You're Latino." It's like,
you know what? I had a best friend I grew up with. Her name was Siobhan. She was Panamanian, but no one thought that she was Spanish. And when they heard her mother talk, because her mother had an accent, they automatically assumed she was Jamaican. So when she would be like, "No, I'm actually Spanish. I'm like Panamanian," they'd be like, "No, you're not. You lying." You know.
Well, have you heard of Celia Cruz people?
Yeah. Well, yes. Celia Cruz was a black woman. Like they're unmistakably black. Yeah, I always tell people when talking about this, I always bring up the fact that for as behind as America is on race, in 2020, I feel like the Latin culture is like 10 steps behind that. We're like so much further behind that, which is a shame.
It's weird because it seems like on social media, we're all so quick to unite with each other, but behind the scenes, it's not the case.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But I also think it's because we don't collectively... I don't think there's like a community, like a physical community for like a bunch of Afro-Latinos to
convene. It's always just, oh, you speak Spanish? Oh, cool. You Mexican? Oh, cool. That's it. Right. But we don't really see a union of Afro-Latinos or anything. Right. And like, okay, we need to talk about these issues and change the community so that our children don't pick up our toxic traits from the past and just start talking. No.
Absolutely. I talked to Chloe and Dakari a lot about this, and I think that they're starting to get it because at first they didn't understand. Mom, you mean you're black and Latino? I'm like, no, I am a black Latino, which is completely different. But I think there's so many, like I said, there's like a lot of layers, a lot of nuance to this conversation. There's a lot to peel back. But yeah. I do feel blessed, though, that just by chance, a lot of my close family and friends are Afro-Latinos. But I know that I've got completely lucky. But I've also experienced a lot of racism from Latinos.
Do you have an example you want to share?
Well, you know what? Growing up in school, all of the kids always assumed I was just fully black. Or, like maybe my mother was white, but I was definitely black. So automatically, most of my friends were black. And if, I don't know, someone said something in Spanish next to me, and I would be like, hey, or, I would, answer them or whatever, they'd be like, oh, you speak Spanish? And they were, appalled. But that's because in this area, growing up in the DMV area, there weren't a lot of, Afro-Latino, there wasn't a lot of Dominican and Puerto Rican. Most of the other Spanish population that were here were South American, Mexican, and all that. So, their features were very obviously different from mine. Right. They didn't have my hair or my skin tone or my nose or anything like that. So I can see why they didn't think that. But there was this one guy that I really liked in high school, Spanish guy. I won't say his name to protect his bitch ass identity.
Do you want to give a fake name? Duncan?
I'll call him fuckboy.
Okay.
So I liked him though, and he was one of those Latino lover types, right?
Oh, Latin lover.
Clearly an Afro-Latino himself.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I know where this is going.
Yeah, but he didn't see himself in that way, right? So I remember during on our first date, he was like, you know what, you should wear your hair straight because it just looks better. And listen, that's a trigger point for me. Even till this day, if a man tells me you should wear your hair straight, I got problems. Let me do that because I want to do that, right?
I heard some versions of that from other guys I know, not from my experience, but my friends' experiences, especially if they're white guys or even Latino, anybody, they're like, oh, can you please, or, oh, you wearing wigs for what? Let her wear a wig.
Mind your business, first of all.
Let her wear her hair how she wants. If she wants to wear it straight one day, that's fine, but let her embrace her natural hair if she wants to. Why? Anyway,
so this guy also, he questioned my name. He's like, why does your name sound so black? And then he was like, can I just call you by your middle name, which is Marie? So he was like, can I just call you by your middle name, Marie? Because that sounds more Spanish. It's like, what the fuck?
When?
Let me just tell you, that was a big turn. I don't think I have dated another Spanish guy since then. Well, no, I have, but it took years and years before I felt comfortable doing that again. So yeah, that was my experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had it lucky, I think, when I was younger because, so when I was younger, I never really got racist, bullying in particular, racism, but it was kind of I didn't really have to be so ignorant towards my culture. I already knew, okay, I am Puerto Rican, but I'm also black too. I have a black father. I need to embrace both cultures. I can't just do one or the other. Even though I grew up mostly with Puerto Rican music and everything, it was also kind of dang, where do I, it's
where do I fit in?
Right, because I don't speak Spanish, or I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I'm learning. So even when I go to Puerto Rico, I'm like, dang, I feel lost. I'm like, oh shoot, when people start, I'm like, when I was younger, it was like a culture shock.
Yeah.
Especially my first time, definitely culture shock. 5 years old, my first time in Puerto Rico ever.
I'm trying to
my great grandma's house.
Yeah.
From where I live at to there, it's and then everybody kissing me. Oh my God, I've never seen this.
Yeah, it's a very different.
I was like, whoa, okay. And then they were like, be nice, hug your family members.
Be nice.
Like, cause I felt like I was not being nice.
Right,
But,
no.
That's
like,
how you do it. But then growing up, I got used to, like, kiss mama, whatever.
Yeah.
And then trying to learn Spanish. But it always felt like I felt like an outcast still, no matter what. Like, I may look like a typical Puerto Rican, obviously. Obviously. And I look black, too. Because my friends were like, I didn't know you were Latino. It's like, oh, I didn't. Like, yeah, I'm half black. But I embrace both. But it seems like sometimes when I'm in Puerto Rico, I'm like, don't leave me alone. Please.
Don't leave me alone. Oh my gosh.
But I'm still trying to get into it. Like, I still feel connected to Puerto Rico some way. It's because my grandpa really loved Puerto Rico. That was his home.
Yeah.
So he taught me through his eyes how I love it without it. Through my way. It doesn't have to be learn Spanish, live there, or whatever. It's how I can do it. I feel like if I didn't have parents or grandparents that were so involved with their culture, I wouldn't have no idea what Puerto Rico was or where it was.
Yeah.
Like, Puerto Rico's American territory. People think it's a country that's 10,000 light years away. Like,
yeah, and it's not. It's like, yeah.
Like, my grandma has heard so many questions about Puerto Rico. She'd be wanting to cuss people out.
Yeah.
One of them was, can you drive to Puerto Rico?
I've actually heard that before, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Can you drive on the water? That's what she said. She said, can you drive on the water? I said, oh, wow.
It's kind of funny that people, make it that, yeah.
And that was one of my first lessons of people being, what's the word, ignorant or
yeah, ignorant, but not you're not saying that in a bad way.
Right.
It's just that they're naive about that.
And that's how see, because some of us do have that not white privilege. Some of us have that privilege box where we're just we don't know our outside, and we need to learn other worlds to understand instead of saying things like that, like, why don't y'all do this? Or y'all are speaking Spanish, why can't you speak English? You're American territory. What's wrong with y'all?
Listen.
That's an example. I'm not quoting nobody. It's just an example that I've come up with. I bet you a lot of people have said.
Well, you know what? One thing that I really do love about our people is that Puerto Ricans are very proud of their culture. On the flip side of that, though, one thing that I'm hoping to see change for the future. So I'm trying to say this carefully because I don't want it to sound like it's probably going to sound when I say it. But one of the things that bother me, not just about Puerto Ricans but Dominicans too, is that we are so colonized that we accept a lot of traditions that, we accept a lot of cultural norms and traditions that aren't necessarily ours, or that we don't understand their true origins, right? And we sort of separate what it is, right? We sort of separate what it is today and how we celebrate that cultural norm or that tradition now. We separate it from its origins. Perfect example is bomba, that dance. So, bomba y plena, if you look up any Wikipedia or however you pronounce that, or, any informational, superficial informational piece on Puerto Rico, and they're telling you the traditional dance and the this and the that, bomba y plena will come up. But what they won't tell you is that is an African dance. Those are African drums that they're using. But but Puerto Ricans, they don't. There are some out there that will do that.
I just remember something good.
Yeah, there's some out there that will do that, but there's a lot of them that don't make that connection.
You know what's funny? Okay, so I had a conversation with my best friend. Mm-hmm. And my best friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, what was the conversation like? So she's South Sudanese, right? Mm-hmm. So then we were talking about African culture and Latino culture and how they're similar.
Yeah,
right?
How they overlap. Yeah,
and
they overlap a lot.
She basically said something that was like, damn, you're right. Okay, so one day I was driving her. She was sitting next to me, and I was playing the Spanish radio, and she's like, yeah, that sounds exactly like, my music too. She was like, basically they, who we are, we know who they are. We just talked about them because stole their culture.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I literally
That's what it is.
So that's literally what you just explained.
Yeah, that is and that is not the only like cultural thing that we're so proud of, but and I'm not saying that we intentionally do it, but as people. So here's one thing you gotta understand about Puerto Rico, and I think we were just talking about this before we hit record, because Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. If you look into the history of Puerto Rico, the colonization goes deep, and we're still being colonized, right? And we're still being colonized in ways that like I don't think people even fucking recognize. We're a territory, we're property, but we're not given the same. So with that. Well, what I'm trying to get to is with that comes, like, we're kind and I don't want to say obedient. We're kind and agreeable people by culture, right? So there's a lot of shit that we just accept as our cultural norms and our standards and our traditions that we don't question. But really that shit's not, maybe it didn't really come from a good place, or maybe it's not really ours. Or maybe we don't really, or when we talk about it, we don't understand really where it came from. And that is a result of colonization. That is absolutely a result. And even down to our agreeable nature, to the point where we don't want to have conversations about race, or we don't want to make it about race, or, it doesn't matter if the dance came from Africa. Well, yeah, it fucking does.
Yes.
It matters, if not for anything, just to be aware. Just to be aware. And people don't,
Because you can't just say something like... It's like writing a paper, but you're not citing your sources. You can't.
That's
say
exactly
work. Like, come on, you gotta give credit to where it's due.
That's exactly it. That is absolutely exactly it. There's another tradition that when I looked into it, I was like, hold the fuck up. Why do we do this? So those masks, those scary looking masks.
Oh yeah, yes.
With the
yes.
So. This was a while ago that I looked it up, so like don't quote me verbatim, but the gist of it is that those masks actually came from a European tradition where they would wear these masks as a way to scare away what they thought were demons or evil forces or whatever, right? Yeah. So those masks aren't, so why in the fuck do we wear those? Right. Like when we're doing those parades, like they actually don't have a positive connotation to them. You know what I mean? But you walk into any like airport gift shop, or you walk into any like these masks are everywhere. Or
like a map says Puerto Rico, you see the mask.
Exactly.
So, I've seen those.
Exactly. And you know what? That's one of those things that, they're beautiful. We've maybe turned it into something beautiful, but how many of us actually know where those things stemmed from?
See, I think Puerto Rico is an example, and maybe the Dominican Republic, even other countries that were colonized, are examples of baby Americas or
absolutely
products of America. That's products of America.
Yeah. Well, America was like probably the most successful colonization in history.
Right. Richest, but
right. It's probably, but for sure, when you look at places like Puerto Rico, especially because, like, look, we're a U.S. territory and we don't have state rights. Right. But they still come in and they use our resources. Look into the history of how the U.S. government have used our people for experiments. Medical experiments. The sterilization of Puerto Rican women.
That's exactly what I did research on once.
Yeah.
That was sad to discover. That they used Puerto Rican women to experiment birth control.
Yep.
And most of them were killed.
Yep.
And couldn't have kids or whatever.
Made sterile. They couldn't have kids. Like,
that's scary.
They killed off generations of Puerto Ricans by doing that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, America has and continues to use Puerto Rico as its fucking playground.
What's her name? That started birth control. Whew. Her name was... something. The woman that created it, they used African people. They used them as well as their experiments, air quotation.
Yeah.
To see what they would do.
Like for their
them.
medical trials.
It's like we're not experiments. We're human beings.
Exactly.
Why? Because if we did that to them, it's a whole different.
But you know why? They don't view us as humans. We're subhuman to them. Or that's at least the fundamental thinking.
Name was, Margaret Sanger.
Okay.
And I think they used people of color in general for testing everything.
Yeah, so that's it's deep-seated things like that I think all play into what I call it's a lot of Puerto Ricans are naive about our true culture and about like where we really came from. It's kind of like
every time we talk about it, it's like
right.
What do you want to talk about?
Right, because like what did I say? We're agreeable people. We like to be agreeable. Yeah, but like as a culture, especially the older people, it's like we
have to act colonization mode to survive.
Yeah, it's like that colonized mindset, and it's fucked up. And you know what it is? It's assimilation to whiteness. Mm-hmm. And like so a lot of other cultures, just not Latinos, Asians do this a lot too. Their proximity to whiteness is what determines their value. It's like a new age, right? It's like a new age racial caste system. You know what I mean? Instead of being based on skin tone, it's based on what's my proximity to whiteness. Mm-hmm. Like that bitch Candace Owens. Like, you know, she feels like her proximity to whiteness, makes her immune to some things.
She keeps trying to cancel Cardi B. See, this is my little 2 cents on this.
Mm-hmm.
How many years ago was Back That Ass Up?
How many years ago was Juvenile song?
How many years ago was
let's just say
how many years ago was
we about to go on a whole nother topic.
I know.
Keep going.
But look.
Here's what I have to say, Kim. Since you opened the door, let me say this, okay? First of all, one of the cornerstones of hip hop is PUSSY. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yep.
It is. Let's just that is what it is, because you can go as far back as whenever when hip hop started. Men have been singing about our pussies for a long time. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Now that women are doing it, you know, hey, I'm the one with it. I'm going to talk about it. The hot pocket is mine.
You respect me here.
You know what I mean?
Here. Those cats, though.
Yeah, you know, like, so now that women are, like, taking this more empowered stance, it's not just one. Like, we had Little Kim back in the day, and then a few years later it was Trina. Like, now they're doing it in mass, and they're doing it together. Now people have a problem with it. That's bullshit. That, like, you should have had a problem with it when Snoop Dogg came out with Doggy Style. You should have had a problem with it when Akinelli said, put it in your mouth. Like, let's be real. Or when Uncle Luke was talking about big booty hoes, hump with it. Like, please. Let's stop
and we still have these men talking about us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
TikTok.
It's stupid. Stupid is what it is. And misogynistic.
It's like women need platforms as well. We can talk about whatever we want. You know, if you have a child, you need to censor what they listen to. Mm-hmm. If it comes out, explain to them it's inappropriate. Don't say these words.
Right.
You're going to hear these words, but just know it's inappropriate. That's it. Keep it moving. Don't demonize someone just because they want to create their own music. Let them, it's out there for a world. Let them do it. Don't.
Well, did you see the one white lady? I think Cardi B actually was the one that posted her on her IG. She was like crying, like, there's not a safe place for our kids to listen to wholesome. Like, stop playing. Like, when you heard Cardi B was coming up next and you heard that she was about to perform WAP, that was your opportunity. Exactly.
Turn to Disney
That was your
Channel,
opportunity to find some wholesome programming for your children. Stop it. Stop the madness, people. Like, there's real problems out here in the world. That's not one of them.
We don't live in what's a place that's just everything censored all the time. I'm not going to name the country because I don't want to get. But
I think, you know what? Well, that was years ago. I don't know if it's like that anymore. I heard Canada is pretty strong on censorship. Really? But I don't
know that in America, it's hard to censor everything. Things are gonna come out to your children like, oh, and they didn't even mean to swipe up. You're on YouTube. You'll see a picture of a woman half naked, say you want to join my whatever back page, white page, whatever.
White page.
There's even children being exploited for little things. You show them, you take a picture of them wearing clothing and they get exploited. It's like the world is. We have so much technology.
It's a different place. Yeah.
It's hard. It's even harder now to censor children.
It's lazy parenting. I'll just put it there. It's lazy parenting.
even though I'm not a mom.
And not that I'm judging anyone's parenting.
You have a right to talk about this because you're our mother.
Yeah, I'm a mother.
Our mother. My mother's in the back.
Yeah, I'm a mama of 2, and I have a 12-year-old who is on TikTok. And I do have a 10-year-old who, like, he's a YouTube king. Like, he has a YouTube channel. And he, you know, is watching a lot of other YouTubes. But at least
you are out here. See, because that's what my mom was like. At least you out here making sure that everything's okay. Mm-hmm. Nobody's... Hey,
I have a lot of uncomfortable conversations with my children.
And you have to have them.
But I think that's what a lot of people don't like to do.
Right.
They don't want to have uncomfortable conversations with their children. Right. Because Chloe and Dakari will get cringy about it. They'll be like, oh, no, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, no, we have to. Because
especially with this 2020 America, you have, it's like, it's already out there. You already have to talk about it.
You do. Well, you know, I think back to when we were kids, and I'm going to nod out to Dee, who's in the back here, your mama. When we were kids, we learned about this shit anyway, whether it was school, hanging out with our friends, right? So, like, yeah, you might as well, like, have a conversation with your kids because they're not going to not see this stuff. They're not going to not hear about it, right? So you should get ahead of the conversation. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like racism is going to overlap in many of our topics, so we're going to still talk about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we're going to start with the next topic, which will be heterosexism. Do you know what that means, ma'am?
I do not know what the official definition of it is, but I can make a guess. Tell me.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little synopsis. So, you know, I'm a sociology major, so I've heard this word multiple times. It's basically the normalization of heterosexual sexuality. So, for example, all you see on TV is man and woman kissing all the time.
Yep, that makes sense.
Or you can't be gay, lesbian, bisexual, LGBTQ plus community. It's the society's
this is a good topic
loving of heterosexism. That's basically what it is. So, like, homophobia, lack of representation, and
this is a good topic.
Cisgender normativity. That's basically means cisgender means someone who is dressed like, air quotations, of their gender, according to their gender, air quotations.
They identify with the gender that they were born with, or that they were assigned with.
So cisgender normativity would be, I guess, the forcing of that. Like, you know, even when a child is young, they'll even, because I take child psychology and I saw these videos, and it's funny because, okay, so what I saw was in the video was basically, what I saw in the videos were children as young as like 3. They already know they're a boy or a girl. They know, oh, girls are nasty. Oh, boys are yucky. I have this, I have that, you know, body part. And then they showed them the boy doll and the girl Barbie doll. And they're like, which one cleans the house? The girl doll. Which one takes care of the house? Which one goes to work? The boy Barbie doll. Or do girls wear dresses? Yes. Do boys wear dresses? No. No. Like, they know already. So that's where it starts. And then that's basically the start of cisgender normativity and even heterosexism.
I have a lot to say about this.
They normalize kids wearing, girls wearing pink. Even it even starts when you first know
when they're babies. Yeah, like everybody buys you pink shit and yeah.
Now this is, you know, I currently identify as heterosexual. You know, but that don't mean I can't express my femininity how I want to.
Yeah, like
if I want to not wear dresses, not wear pink, then that's me. That's fine. That's what we need to normalize. But also, this is a huge problem also, I think, in the Latino community because the Latino community is very heavily religious. So this is like a branch.
You just touched on something that I was about to say. So all of this like cis normativity and all of this like programming comes from, and I know you guys are going to get tired of me saying this word and using these phrases, but you already said racism overlaps a lot of it. It comes from this fucking colonization, white, misogynistic, central viewpoint of morality. And Latinos have absolutely adopted that. Everybody has adopted that. But black and brown communities have notoriously like flocked to that standard as being what's right. And it's interesting because like the same people that'll be like, oh no, our kids shouldn't see two gay people kissing on My Fairy Godparents or whatever Nickelodeon show. But they won't say anything about a prince and a princess kissing and getting married. They don't view it the same way, and it's designed that way. It is like people's like phobia and unfounded fear about these things absolutely comes from like a colonized, misogynistic construct of what is supposed to be moral and what isn't. Ultimately, what happens in someone else's brain or what happens in someone else's bedroom is none of our fucking business. Right. Period. And we have to stop sexualizing every freaking thing. Because you know how everything is not sexual in nature.
Women within the even in the Telemundo news, they wear tight clothing, or they know the typical Latina body, being slim, thick, whatever. Yeah, it's like they heavily sexualize those women. Oh my goodness, Teddy.
Yeah,
and then it's like, but what about representation of Latinos who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, plus LGBTQ plus community? What about them?
Yeah,
you don't really see them get represented in music or anything, and it's like
which is why I love what Bad Bunny is doing with his platform, because he's just sort of like, this is me, this is who I am. And I don't think he's actually come out and identified as anything. He's just like, I am me. And like sometimes I like to wear fucking nail polish and sometimes I don't. You know?
And that's all we need.
And he's fluid. And you know what I actually think? I think the truth of it is that sexuality is a spectrum. And I think the vast majority of people that identify as straight or gay, and gay too, so it's not just straight people. I think a lot of people, because of how society has like, you got to pick one. Which box do you fall in? And it's like, well, it's not that simple for some people.
Right.
And it really isn't. Like, if you look at the animal kingdom, they're like, the animal kingdom, they don't, and I know people are gonna be like, oh, she's like comparing us to animals, or we are fucking animals. But if you look at the natural order of things out there in the world, like, it's not all hetero or homosexual. Like, there's a lot of gray area. It's a spectrum out there in the animal kingdom. So, yeah, it's just one more device to control people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I feel like we keep, it's like a control thing. And I think we just should let people live and just let people get represented. We don't get all, oh my God, you gonna let him on TV? You gonna let her on TV?
Like Lil Nas X, all the flack he's getting. Or I remember a few years ago when Billy Porter wore a ball gown to the Oscars. No, was it the Oscars? Yeah. So many men, especially black men, were like up in arms, and they were like, you know, we don't get a lot of representation, and that's the man they pick. And it's like, wait a minute. So the person to be mad at then isn't Billy, because he's being authentic and true to himself, and he should represent himself how he feels is authentic to him. The problem is, who is the gatekeeper there? Who's not giving the rest of us the opportunity to be represented?
I know this child is not Latino. She's black. I'm going to talk about it, even though it's going to be a huge tangent. She's an example. Zaya Wade is the number one example.
Oh, yeah.
Because she identifies as a transgender woman. And I'm going to call him out because I don't like him. Lil Boozy. Prime example. So
toxic man.
This is my opinion. If my child wanted to identifies transgender, there's more to that. Okay, Teddy, we get it. Teddy. So I get it. There's way more than you think. When you see a man wearing nail polish, a dress, all the men are up in arms. But you don't even look at your own life and what you do. You talking
what
about
else is toxic and not? Yeah.
Well, you talking about? Oh, my nephew, son, whatever. They're gonna get their whatever from a grown woman that's an adult, and you normalize that. That's literally rape at this point.
Yep.
And then
he was condoning
it.
Yeah.
But then you so worried about a young girl figuring out who she is and wanted to identify herself, and her parents are so open. I would love, if I were someone going through that, I would want that support from Dwayne Wade and his wife, Gabrielle Union. They are the best parents to her. They support her. Why does they have to be like? Why does he have to?
Why does he need to say anything about it?
Right. Period. Why does Dwayne Wade have? Why do you want to expect him to be the one to be like, oh, I don't accept her. Oh, I want her to be a basketball player just like me. Oh, you just expect that. Yeah. Because even our community, the black community too, can say this as well. They want cisgender normativity. It's like, oh, why you let her do this? Or you keep saying the wrong pronouns as well. You're disrespecting her, saying, oh, you gonna cut his D off. Nobody says that. There's a whole process.
Which is ignorant, because that's not the same thing as...
You need to, first, before you even speak your 2 cents on the internet, what people need to learn is to do your own research.
Like, gender reassignment is a completely different ball game from someone
still a child,
being
so
trans.
she can't even get that surgery for
exactly
yet.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean she can't still transition with other things like hormones, pills, whatever she wants.
There's a whole medical process, like you said. Like, that includes psychological safe.
They want to make sure that you want to go through these surgeries or pills or hormones, because you can feel different. You can feel not yourself at one point. You can go through complications. I've seen little bits and clips of like children who are wants to identify as transgender going through transitioning, and it's hard for them because there's children. You're already going through puberty, and then having to go on top of that.
It's a hard thing.
So
it's a really hard thing. It's like, Boosie is just, I could go off on a whole tangent about that. But
I feel like you need to worry about your own children and worry about how you raise your children before you talk about someone else.
He's also talking from like a micro-privileged point of view, which I think a lot of misogynistic black and brown men are. What?
I said, Lord Harvey don't want you. Because I heard this on the radio today, right?
Yeah.
He's talking smack about Lord Harvey, talking about
I heard that too.
This is another thing.
I heard that too.
This is another thing.
Yeah.
So you can sleep whatever you want because you're a rapper, all that, have all these drugs, whatever, blah, 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 sleep with anybody you want. But if a woman does it, Cardi B, Sweetie,
any of them.
Yeah, the same thing you do, it's a problem. Why does that have to be a problem? Because she don't want you.
It's
the minute a woman
bullshit.
don't want you, that's bad AF. If she has men that are higher up that want her, and then let her do it. Let her be whoever she wants to be. She's a young woman. She doesn't have children. She has her own platform making money. Let her do it. She wants to date Michael B. Jordan. I am jealous that she is.
They do make a really cute
I'm rooting
couple.
for her though.
You know what? It's misogynistic bullshit. Is what it is. It's misogynistic bullshit. Again, it's microaggressions coming from a micro-privileged place.
Look, if you mad that you didn't get it from the girl, just say that. If you mad that she denied you, just say that. Stop talking ish about women. We don't even talk ish about you, maybe behind closed doors.
Well, we do behind closed doors, and we're not sore losers.
But we're not out here publicly humiliating you.
Yeah, we're not sore losers about it. But that's a whole nother tangent.
That's a tangent.
That's a whole nother tangent. It happens
in the Latino community as well.
It does. It does. It really, really, truly does. And again, it's just a result of us trying to like fall into these norms that weren't created with our best interest in mind anyway. So there's that thing about it, because it's also very like in the Latino culture, it's like, oh, as a woman, you get married, you have kids, you're a homemaker. Like it's a very
Religion,
traditional
too.
cookie cutter type of thing. You know, so and it is a part of that whole cisgendered normativity thing that they try and sell us. Like,
And
you have this role, men have that role.
And if you're like a young male or female who's Latino or black or person of color, you don't have to follow society's rules of whatever culture you have. You should be able to follow your own path. Like, for example, like you said, I remember you saying, I think you said you told Chloe or something.
Yeah.
That, you know, if when you grow up, if you don't want to be a mother, that's fine.
Yep. And I reinforce that to her on a normal basis. And I do it because of this. And I'm going to be super real. But everybody that knows me, I love my children and I love being a mother. Motherhood for me has done me good. Like, it's helped me grow up and mature in a lot of ways. But I also acknowledge that parenthood, period. But there's a particular like workload that comes with being a mother, whether you're a single mother or not. But my experience has been as a single mother. So I'll put that disclaimer out there. But parenthood is fucking hard. It's hard work. And that's why you have so many neglected and abused and mistreated children out there. Because there's a lot of people that are parents that became parents because they were pressured into that role. You know what I mean? That's not really, you know, and there's a lot of women that when they become mothers, they decide, hey, this fucking sucks. I don't like this shit. And, you know, again, that's when we screw up children in that way. So I would never want my daughter to feel pressured, or my son. I told Dakari the same thing. Don't feel pressured that you have to follow the go to college, get married, have kids, go to work until you die thing, because there's a lot more to life, and you know, you got to be authentic and true to yourself. And parenthood is traumatic. I'm gonna just be real with you, and I don't say that in a bad way, but it's traumatic because like it's a job that you don't get a day off from, whether you're sick, tired, not feeling good emotionally. Like, you still have another person to take care of. And it's a huge responsibility financially and physically, whether you have the support of a spouse to do it or not. So that's why I always tell my kids, look, and I just had this conversation with Chloe the other day. Travel, girl, travel. As long as
That's
you
the
want
key
to,
word of
right?
the year.
Yes.
You know what? Teddy, please. You want to put your 2 cents? Anyway.
Not there.
No, that's exactly true. Like, literally, the past few years. So I'm an adult now, as we beginningly talked about.
Don't stop saying that. It's
I'm
terrible.
22, going on 23.
Stop it, making me feel old.
This is why. I was kidding.
I am, but I look good though.
No, but I feel like women who are my age get pressured to get married, have babies, and you know what? Even if you're having a baby at my age and you wanted it and you want to have that lifestyle,
that's fine.
That's fine. We need to stop judging women if they want that lifestyle and that, but we also need to stop judging women who don't want it right now.
Yeah.
Because for me, even though the pandemic hit, I did have a privilege to travel to places that I didn't think I would travel to in the next few years. Like, I went to New York City. I've been to Puerto Rico many times. I've been lucky to go there.
Yeah.
I went on a cruise, and I've been to Universal Studios. You know, just places that are fun that people once in a lifetime want to go to. And many of the times, I've been like, most of the times of these trips, I'm like, oh, I don't know, because traveling for me is kind of scary. Like planes, I can't. I like to fly. I rather fly than drive 12 hours. But I get like, but I still go because I'm young. I feel like in my 20s, it should be the time to do that. Because when you have children or a husband, you have to always, whatchamacallit, what's the word? You always got to censor. What's wrong with you?
I think he needs to go outside.
Hold on. Okay, there we go. So, okay, yeah. heteros.
We took a little break there.
Yeah, we took a little
break.
But why don't we we can go.
Well, in closing, let me say this: the patriarchy has fucked us all.
Yes, ma'am.
Straight cis men included, and I don't think they realize it.
Why don't we could end this off with like maybe not advice, but maybe what we as Latino community or people of color community should start doing to get rid of this ignorance and patriarchy, because I even had a little discussion board on one of my classes. Mm-hmm. Basically the question was so imagine a society where sexual orientation didn't matter. So if Zaya Wade wanted to be so let's say flash forward. Mm-hmm. Flash back to where Zaya Wade was a boy, and she said to her father, "I want to become a girl." It would be like, of course, like, and everybody would be like, "Do whatever you want, whatever you make happy now." Yeah, but unfortunately, it wasn't like that. Mm-hmm. Of course, there was backlash.
Yeah,
and all that.
Backlash.
So then she was like, imagine, my teacher asked us, imagine a world like that. And I basically said it's like heaven for most people. Yeah. Not everybody has the privilege to walk around and be who they are. So most people have to give that up.
So you said the key word there is privilege. Mm-hmm. And I think especially when we're talking about people of color, when you say privilege, I'm not privileged, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, some white people, it's reminiscent of when white people get defensive when you point out that they have white privilege. So just even to have the position, okay, that because you feel something is not right for you, just to even have that position that you're projecting it on to what everybody else around you should be doing, that in itself is a privilege. You're speaking from a privileged point of view. It's a micro privilege because it's not a privilege that necessarily may extend in all areas of your life. It's not like you can take that and do something with it other than be a shitty human being and impose unnecessary emotional and mental duress on somebody.
Because I even had a professor where she made us even write down what our privileges are if we had any, what our inequalities were. Mm-hmm. And, an example could be you're heterosexual. That's a privilege that you have. Yep. Or another one could be that you have a higher class, or you're just not poor. You're not low socioeconomic. You are middle class and up. That's a privilege as well. There's many other examples. You even
being a man is a privilege.
Being a male is privilege. You see, and then there's the term. Have you heard the terms intersectionality? Yeah. That term, that's my favorite term. Mm-hmm. If for some of y'all who don't know it, intersectionality is an intersection of two social inequalities. So, for example, black women, that's an intersectionality because black and racism,
and a woman,
sexism.
And if you throw in that they may be gay or
that's like three intersections at the same time.
Yeah, like there's like layers and layers of disadvantage and privilege that people can have.
Even in the Latino community, there's a lot of intersections as well. Mm-hmm. If you are someone who identifies with the LGBTQ plus community, or if you I talked to my grandma about this. There was also, I haven't listed up here, but I thought it was interesting how she talked about how old Puerto Rican days where classism was a huge thing back then. Mm-hmm. You couldn't hang out with us because you're poor, and that's
which is, by the way, why a lot of Puerto Ricans on the island today identify as Republican. It's a classism thing. Woo, that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day.
I just want to point that out.
But yeah, I think, because I just saw a video suggestion that was amazing. Basically, why you shouldn't force your kids to go to college. So, one thing we should do as a society, I think, that we should change would be, not change, how about we start? Because I feel like we can't get to a point where everyone's accepting. I feel like we have to start now, because I feel like maybe when I become maybe my grandma's age, things will start to get a little better.
Yeah, I think if we continue to push the conversation and the needle forward, and continue to push towards progress, we'll get there.
Made progress, and I still did nothing made progress. But I think if we just start learning from each other and stop using the stereotypes we've learned, or at least try to get ourselves in a place where we're open-minded at least, I feel like we can start. Because there's many even children in the Latino community or people of color community who are afraid to even talk about anything like mental health, for example, their sexuality, big one that we're talking about now. They're scared to talk about it. Yeah. And then you end up seeing a high suicide rate or a high drug and alcohol rates within our community. And all other communities are drop out, all that. And I feel like you need to open conversations with our children, niece, nephew, whoever.
Well, I think this is a big part of like my own personal platform and charge. I feel that especially the older generations, in order for us to fix for like your generation and younger, for like your grandkids to see some change, the generation that's my generation and older, we have a lot of healing to do, because there's a lot of things that we don't even realize are trauma responses, are wounds that we continue to perpetuate, that sort of continue to keep all of this racism, misogyny, and homophobia alive. Because that saying, hurt people hurt people. We don't realize that we're hurt. We don't realize that a lot of these things that we've adapted as what's morally right are trauma. Was a fucking trauma response to begin with, that we even went along and agreed with a lot of it.
Like, it's hard to accept other people because people didn't accept us first.
That's exactly what it is. And we've internalized a lot of those views. So now we think this is the cookie cutter, because here's the truth of it. Even if you don't agree with the decisions someone else has made, if you are a healed and self-assured human being, you will not take someone else's personal choices as your charge to change. You're not going to feel like I need to project what I got going on in here on you so you can see that how I feel is right. A healed human being, that's not going to happen.
It's okay to admit that you're not healed. I'm not. She's not. He not. Your mom not.
Healing is a journey.
It's a journey.
It happens in layers. So like, and the more that you heal, the more that you're going to uncover that still needs to be healed. But the thing is, so many of us are just not even. We're asleep. A lot of us don't even realize that healing is an option, or healing is something we have to do. Why? Because like the old school way of thinking about life is work, die. You know what I mean? Work and do like
under the rug.
Right. Buy a house, get married, have kids, work and die. Like,
but don't talk about your mental health or anything.
Yeah, don't talk about any of that shit. Like, that's the devil, but just don't even get me started on that shit.
The devil already your house.
Girl, don't get me started on that. Using Jesus and the devil as a scapegoat. They don't got nothing to do with the shit you got going on. But
you know what? I should have put mental health up in here.
Well, yeah, that is I think mental health is a big thing, especially in the community of color.
It's gonna come up, because this is definitely.
Well, yeah, because everything we're talking about, it's hard not to, because all of these things do amount to mental health issues.
It does.
Anyway, so yeah.
So what would be one thing that you suggest for, let's say, I don't know, would it be your generation? I think generally, what do you think you should see? Like, what should we start doing? I feel like we don't even need to start doing nothing.
I think having conversations. No, I think having conversations, honest conversations, and being accountable, and also adapting the mindset that. I don't know if there's a general term to really encompass what I'm trying to say, but there's sort of, and I keep calling it old school, but there's a lot of people in my generation that feel this way too. There's a lot of people that feel that they have to double down on one view or one set of morals and that they can't acknowledge that maybe there's some gray area or maybe there's two sides to something, right? Because then that means what they feel strongly about here can't be right. So what I'm trying to say is like have conversations and also understand that it's not really about right and wrong. Like, when you know better, you do better. You know what I mean? So be accountable and understand that, maybe I was operating in this space and making these choices and these decisions, but this is the mind frame I was in. Let me be accountable because now I know better. You know what I mean? Now I know better. I've said in my youth and thought some problematic things. Let me tell you, you would never guess it because of how vocal I am about it now, but I used to be one of those I don't see color people. Now I will punt kick you if you say some shit like that in front of me.
I feel like a bunch of us who don't want to admit it probably have had those thoughts.
Yeah, I was one of those people.
But obviously it wasn't like, I'm not going to name names, obviously, but I feel like a lot of Latino people can relate to that.
Yeah, we see that. And the thing is, and this is what I mean by don't look at everything as wrong or right, because that's what keeps people from being accountable, because they're so caught up in, no, I can't be wrong, because they feel like their intention didn't come from a bad place, so they can't be wrong. Get rid of that. Like, that's not how you should be approaching these conversations. Approach it from, what can I learn and what could I have done better? If you approach it that way, then you can be honest with yourself. Like, I had to be with myself and be like, damn, like, I was one of those people that said I didn't see color. Now I see the error. I never said that, but I do. Some people did. Yeah, but and I know that some people may have said those things, and I understand it didn't come from a bad place. But the truth is, you say things like that from a place of privilege, and you say things like that when you've internalized some shit. That's it. And it's being accountable, like being able to say, damn, that was a problematic thing that I used to think or that I used to say. Now that I know better, I can do better. And I think we need to approach that with all of this shit. Racism, homophobia, all of that. We need to adapt that. That's my opinion.
I like your opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, that was the end of episode 3, part 1 of the 2-part series talking about the common issues of the LatinX community. I can't wait for you guys to hear part 2 of this episode. It will drop next Wednesday at 8 a.m. I'm going to end this episode giving you guys some platforms that I have recently started on. I am also on YouTube and I am on Facebook. Links are on my public website on anchor.fm/Sierra L. That is www.anchor.fm/Sierra CIARA and L, just the L, lowercase L. So my YouTube name is The Sociology of Podcast, THESOCIOLOGY of OF, podcast, PODCAST. I'm also on Facebook, the same name, The Sociology of Podcast, where I'll be posting updates and links to platforms to listen to The Sociology of Podcast. I am now on Apple Podcasts. I'm so excited. I'm finally on there. When you go on there, you can type in my name, Sierra, CIARA, and then put uppercase L, and I should pop up. I am excited to be on Apple Podcasts. I'm also on Google Podcasts as well. 2 main platforms. I'm on Spotify and other platforms. All the links are in my public website. So, without further ado, I am signing off. Hasta luego. I'll see y'all later. Bye.